in welcoming this to the stage another one of our PICU mothers, Anne McCullum.
Hey everyone.
Love you.
Love you too. Good evening everybody. My name is Anne and I am Cameron's mum. We are all so blessed to have you here helping us supporting this cause that is really close to our hearts. What is PICU? I guess that depends on your perspective. Technically, you know, it's a paediatric intensive care unit and it treats and takes care of the sickest children in the hospital. But what does PICU mean to an everyday person like me? For us, it was home for 16 long months, where Cameron fought for his life over and over again, supported by some of the most wonderful people we've ever met. Cameron's journey started on the 22nd of July 2022. He was first admitted to ED and subsequently diagnosed with high-risk B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. He was admitted to the Children's Oncology Ward where he began his treatment. With this treatment, he suffered a lot of side effects, such as steroid-induced insulin-dependent diabetes, liver failure, fluid overload, a DVT, delirium, severe mucositis that saw him vomiting blood for days, a PE, and all of these involved lots of needles. Cameron is a needle phobe, so this was really difficult for him. But honestly, I'd go back to that if I could, and it meant we could avoid what was to come. On Christmas Day 2022, he was admitted for his final round of chemo before going to Sydney for his bone marrow transplant, which he was supposed to have. This ended in what we thought was just a basic garden variety pancreatitis. It's a common side effect of one of the chemo drugs. He was discharged home on the 30th of December, and 6 hours later he was so sick with vomiting that we had to take him back. I've always considered this to be gate leave, as this was the last time he stepped foot in our home, lay in his own bed and walked independently. On New Year's Eve, his blood pressure dropped to 70/40. I'm sure the medical people in here would know that is very low. He had a rapid heart rate, I think it was well over 130, a high temperature, and our nurse called a rapid response. That's when all the doctors come into the room and do everything they can to save your child. After 7 rounds of adrenaline, he was finally stable enough to be transferred running to the PICU, which was halfway up the hospital and up 2 floors. This is where he remained for 465 days, fighting for his life, with a total of 657 days in hospital. That night, I saw the new year in, laying on a parent bed, watching him on high flow oxygen, struggling to breathe. He was scared and in pain, and all I could do was hold his hand and panic quietly. On New Year's Day, he was sedated, intubated to help him breathe, had inserted a second central line so that he could be given lots of medications, especially ones to keep his blood pressure up, a line for kidney dialysis, extra cannulas for all the other drugs, a urinary catheter, an arterial line for those close monitoring, and a nasogastric tube for stomach aspiration. He thankfully narrowly escaped transfer to Westmead for ECMO, as his heart was the one thing that was doing okay. He was to remain vent reliant for another 424 days. He had a tracheostomy for 391 days, before he was finally well enough to breathe unassisted and without that lifeline. We were told a total of 9 times that Cameron would die, or could die, sorry. We had a palliation plan of how to get him home if treatment became futile. Our lead intensivist, the beautiful Dr. Rajari, and all our doctors in PICU, who some of which are here, were always very honest with us and ensured with kindness but directness that we knew where we stood. Our PICU team became our extended family. Together we celebrated the wins. We mourned the losses and we feared for the worst. We couldn't have survived our stay intact without their love, their support and their tenacity. We had many battles, including constant and recurring septic storms, multiple organ failure, multiple pneumonias, collapsed lungs, blood clots, aneurysms, a cardiac arrest, multiple resistant superbug, countless operations, procedures, and a bowel perforation. On the 25th of January 2023, Cameron had finally been cleared from the COVID that accompanied him into this admission. But our celebrations quickly became one of the most traumatic nights we had in PICU. Cameron had not passed any bowel motions since the week of Christmas, so about 5 weeks. His multi-organ failure included his lungs, his kidneys and gut, which meant that his bowel wasn't working. His poor belly had become extremely distended and it looked like there was fecal matter in his NG. After an urgent CT, Dr. Nick came and requested I attend a meeting. I knew instantly that something bad was coming. I called Mark, sorry I'm going to have to put that on the floor. I called Mark and he asked me why I needed him to come. And I said, I don't know why, you just need to get here now. This was the first time we sat in the room of doom and it felt like we were going to lose. We had sat in that family meeting room quite a few times, but especially before with Lee Tam. He had told us that Cameron had necrotizing pancreatitis and how worried he was. This time it felt very different. I knew what a bowel perforation meant to a patient as sick as Cameron. I couldn't talk and I could barely breathe. All we could do was hold each other. That day, I made calls to family to say goodbye, just in case. I made those calls several times over 16 months. These calls are amongst the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I've done a lot of hard things. Calling our parents to tell them they needed to come urgently, and my parents are quite elderly, so it was a big effort. Taking photos of our son with his family, his grandparents, his little brother, just in case. Unless you've done this, you can't imagine how hard it is to not cry and to be brave so your children don't panic. That night was the first night I sat on the current PICU porch. We sat for 3 long hours, waiting for news of our son. We were in the darkness, as I didn't want the light on, and we silently begged the universe to please bring him back to us, alive and better than expected. The nurses brought us coffee, checked on us, consoled us. They told us how sorry they were that we were going through this. Nothing prepares you for those feelings of utter helplessness and grief. As a nurse, I knew he'd come back with a stoma and what that meant. I knew what recovery he was facing and I was scared out of my brain. About 11 p.m, Dr. Corinne came to us and she was smiling just a little bit. Cameron had come back to us better than expected. This was the first time we celebrated on that porch. That porch saw me rage, cry, laugh, console, and make new friends. That porch was a godsend. Families need an outdoor space when they are suffering through what can be one of the most traumatic experiences of a lifetime. I've witnessed families take their loved ones out for much needed sunshine. I've held their hands as they cried over what was happening. I've made friends with strangers who have become family. Sometimes in life we find the sweetest rainbows emerging from the darkest storms. And in PICU, that was certainly the place for me. One terrible night, I met Megan, who you all saw on the screen. We were all out in the family room and her daughter Addie and Cameron, they were both really, really unwell. They were fighting for their lives and that's what we bonded over, basically. For 100 days, we consoled each other out on that porch. We found joy in the small things like cups of tea at midnight, we laughed over the absurdity of sharing one bathroom with up to 7 families. We celebrated the small wins, but we also mourned the biggest losses. I was out on that porch on Lady Addie's last day, sharing in the utter tragedy that is childhood cancer and loss.
Love you.
I love you too. This is my friend Soph. The new courtyard will allow families a culturally safe space to be, a place to bring their much-loved pets to visit, like Cameron did. His cat Fred became a little bit of a celebrity in PICU, with some of the doctors trying to steal him. He came regularly to help Cameron keep Cameron buoyed. He blazed a pathway for other pets to come, and we couldn't really be any happier about that. Fred's visits helped Cameron feel connected to his real life, as did visits from his family and his mates. All these things can help a patient recover, stave off delirium and depression, feel like there is a hope and a purpose, to not give up. Being stuck so long in hospital really zapped Cameron's confidence in himself. He sometimes felt very hopeless, and having this outdoor space was a lifeline I don't think that we could have done without. I believe an outdoor space is imperative for children stuck in PICU. If you would just do me a favour and I'll just close your eyes a bit like we did before. I want you to listen. What do you hear? Not much, right? Imagine you are surrounded by bright lights, blinds that don't close, the constant noise and beeping of machines that look scary and sound even worse, and people you don't know never leaving you alone. Sorry guys. It's true though. Now imagine the relief you feel sitting in a comfy chair or in your bed, outside in the garden and feeling the breeze and the sunshine on your face. All you can hear are the birds and the breeze in the leaves of the garden, maybe the odd helicopter. That's what it was like for Cameron when we escaped the ward with his beautiful nurses in tow to keep him breathing and safe. Now think about that and how it feels from a parent's perspective. You haven't slept well. The beds in PICU really do suck. You're stressed, you're worried. Real life still has to keep going, with other children, pets and jobs all needing to be catered to. You walk out onto that porch and you take a big, deep breath. All you can hear is the slight sound of traffic and the breeze. You can smell the air, or the fumes from the helicopter. You can see the stars, which I did every night, grounded me. The relief is palpable. You can now step back into that bright, cold room filled with machines, people you don't know keeping your dearest love alive, and you can cope. This is what the outdoor space meant to This is what the outdoor space meant to me and Cameron's dad, Mark. It was a place we could take our youngest son, Nicholas, to explain what was going on. It was a place I could make phone calls to my support network when times were horrific and I needed to get help to get Nicholas to the hospital quickly. It was a space to debrief with my new PICU parent friends, Megan, Sophie and Kate. Sometimes I'd have a chat with our dear nurses, interrupt their dinner. Sometimes we'd have a meeting with our team. Cameron celebrated his 16th birthday out in that family room and on the porch. He scared Dr. Rajari with his Halloween costume and scissors sticking out of his head. And we had Christmas out there and we got Nagaraj to say a swear word. I'm not allowed to say in a public forum. But also when it came time for Cameron to leave, the lovely PICU nurses organised a big party for him and a clap out. And we had that out in that family room and on the porch. The new courtyard will be this and more for future families. A safe place to breathe, debrief, celebrate the wins big and small, and sometimes sadly grieve. Thank you all for listening to my perspective. I'd like to introduce you to my wonderful son. I'm very proud of him. His name's Cameron, and he's going to come and share his perspective.
That you didn't expect that!
You're quite the celebrity now here, Cameron, in the Newcastle Herald today, and you've got a standing ovation along with your mum. This is all quite a lot, isn't it? It's all quite a lot, this public adulation and new celebrity status.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Now I'm going to get in.
Get me back to my quiet life, thank you.
Right, well, give me a couple of minutes and we'll get you back.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Now,
This is just a chat, you know?
now this is that's a pretty incredible mum you've got there.
Yeah, best mum.
Best mum.
Yeah, best mum.
Dad goes all right too.
Best dad.
Best dad, best mum. Simple as that. Now, I can't imagine what those couple of years were like, but we spoke. Tell us, no doubt there were some really tough bits and some really, well, quite positive bits at that time at PICU. Are you happy to share with us some of the tough bits?
Well, if I were to describe it, imagine hell, but if hell had a hell.
If hell had a hell. Right. There was, now you were telling me now while it was tough, a little bit weird, you would have hallucinations.
Oh yeah, that night. So, I don't remember when it was, I'm pretty sure I was still in PICU. Mum, correct me on that if I'm wrong. When I was in PICU, I went to sleep and suddenly I woke up and I thought I'd heard people walk into my room. And I started talking or whatever, like to someone who I thought was one of the nurses, or one of the doctors, I don't remember, but then my brain kicks in and it's just like, this person isn't here. That's
There was
terrifying.
no one there.
Huh?
There was no one there.
There was no one there, and I was just talking and babbling in the middle of the night.
That's okay.
And then, go back to sleep for a little bit, wake up, happens again. This time with a different nurse or doctor. And it happened, I want to say maybe 2 more times in the night. And the last time was someone I didn't recognize. It was like a guy almost like bringing in like a, the things you drag to hold like boxes of stuff?
Yep.
The metal things,
Yes.
platforms, yeah. I saw him and I'm like, who are you?
And why was he in your room? But he wasn't.
He was not.
He was not. Now, I would say, if we could look at some of the more positive things, I would imagine the staff and the doctors. Yep. Tell us about the people around you in a PICU.
The people around me. So you know how I said that the situation is hell's hell? So these people are hell's angels. I mean that as a compliment, by the way. Whenever I make compliments in my own way, sometimes they tend to come off as insults, so I just want to be 100% sure.
They were your angels?
Yeah, basically.
Now, are you allowed to say if you had any favourites there?
I would say I did, but all of them are my favourites, but some of them, it's hard to describe,
A little bit more favourite than others?
A little bit more favourite, but like a teensy bit amount,
Just a teensy bit.
It's primarily because of the reason that they are my favourites is that I have times I remember with them because my memory is kind of bad at the moment. And so the memories I do hold sort of just elevate them a little bit,
Yeah.
I love all of the doctors and the nurses and the registrars and everyone. It's just the one those that I have memories with from there elevates them,
Now, I'm sure one of the memories that you'll have with Dr. Rajri when you walked in with your Halloween costume and the scissors.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that?
I don't remember. I have a feeling it was Mum's, but I wanted to do Halloween because Halloween, hot take, is better than Christmas. Fight me on that.
So tell us about Dr. Rajri's response when you walked in with scissors allegedly coming out of your head.
Oh my God, Cameron!
You frightened him a bit?
Frightened him a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
And she is not one to be frazzled by a lot, you know?
Yes.
She's serious and she isn't very frazzled.
Well, it's always good to have serious doctors, though.
It's always good to have serious, but ones that can, you know, lighten up a bit. She was one of those, you know?
Yes. Now, you're a bit of a pioneer in PICU. I think, are you the first patient to have had a cat join out? Tell us about Fred.
So, I don't remember how old he is. I know I'm a bad pet owner. He is a short-haired ragdoll. He originally had longer hair, except when they found him, he had a bunch of ticks, so they had to shave it basically almost down to the skin.
Yeah.
And it just never grew back to the normal length, so we just call him a short hair.
So what did it mean to you that Fred could come and visit you in hospital?
Emotional support animal.
Yeah.
I don't understand why cats are not emotional support animals. Like,
But
dogs,
Fred was that for you? Fred was that for you?
Fred was that for me, yeah. I mean, dogs, you know, they're easy to train to be an emotional support animal. Cats just do whatever the hell they want, you know, with no regard for the humans.
But you must have obviously a special connection with Fred. Does Fred have a special connection with you, or just kind of hangs around?
I'd say he does. I mean, a lot of nights he tends to just snuggle by on my arm when I'm going to sleep. So, yeah, he's definitely a special one.
Yeah. Now, we saw some pictures up on the screen there just a few moments ago of you. Yeah, you were out the back there chatting.
Ah, okay.
Very chatty out the back there. Now, we saw some pictures of you out on the veranda in a PICU at the moment. And of course, while we're here tonight, we're going to build this brand new courtyard that's going to be so much bigger and better and amazing. But tell me, for you, spending all that time in those, and I spent some time in those PICU rooms, tell us what it was like for you going through what you were, but being able to go outside and breathe the air and feel the sunshine.
Now, although grey skies and others are my favourite, and like fog is my favourite weather, anyone in my family will know that. Whenever I got to go outside and just photosynthesizing the rays of sunshine, it almost reawakened a part of my soul I thought had died, you know?
It must be very special. That must have been a very special moment for you.
It is. One of the memories I have, I was playing with Pokemon Go with my mate, Bodhi. And it was just a nice day. It was a community day where basically one Pokemon just spawns a hell of a lot and there's an increased chance for it to be special, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, we were just doing that the whole time, like a good hour or two. It was a reprieve, you know, it was an excellent reprieve.
So this area that you have out there and what these children and family are going to have in this new PICU, it allows you to almost escape from what you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, you're not physically in the hospital, even though you are, but you're not, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you can physically just get out of the room where all the bad stuff is happening, which I find is very effective in morale.
Yeah. It just made you feel better.
It did.
Yeah.
Except for the time it didn't when I got stuck in the rain.
How'd you get stuck in the rain out there? Who left you out there? Who left you out in the rain?
No one left me out there, but basically we were out there, you know, it was all right, it was grey, and the weather quickly turned on us, it was raining a lot. Trying not to swear here, I would have sworn like 10 times already. And in the rain, like, the wheelchair's wheels, I don't know if it was the wheels or if it was like the ramp that went back up there, you know, it was slippery, and then the tires were just doing this without moving. They had to get like 2 wardies, a nurse and mum to push me back up. And the reason for that, it's an 160 kilo chair with a fat ass like me.
So there was a critical incident out there because you're spinning your wheels and almost got bogged out there.
Yeah, basically got bogged with water, not even mud.
Now it must be, as I said, we're going to come together here as a community. We're going to build this new courtyard.
Yeah.
And we're going to make a bigger and better space for kids like you. What does it mean to you to know that these people of Newcastle, and many of you you've never met before, But to know that there's people out there who want to help people just like you, how does that make you feel?
Quite often, when you're online, like I am, I'm a chronically online person, but quite often when you're online, you're just bombarded with like bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. But knowing that, you know, people are actually human and not massive, mean people, you can tell I'm really trying to avoid swearing here. It makes me, it gives you hope, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really one of the main things with PICU. In order to survive there, you need hope, you know?
Yeah.
But even if you have it, it's hard. Sometimes it just doesn't matter, you know? Fate, you know?
Yeah.
So hope is a big part in it, you know?
Cameron, it's been an absolute privilege of mine to meet you. Your story has been incredible. I've loved meeting your mum and your dad, and we are so proud of you all, and we're very privileged to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story.
No, thank you for this opportunity.
Cameron McCallum, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, everyone.
I've had a chance to, very privileged to interview a lot of people in my time, and I can honestly say I've never met a young man like Cameron. Yes, Cameron's the same age as my son, and when you get to hear his story and meet him and see the glow in his face and the sparkle in his eye and the absolute thirst for life he has, it makes, as I said, I'm very honoured and privileged to be able to share this moment on stage with him. Anne was amazing, wasn't she? Just truly amazing. She wasn't sure, she said to me she wasn't sure if she'd be able to do it. She was worried about her speech. I said, Anne, it is going to be amazing, and it truly was. Please put your hands together once again to Anne and to Cameron. I reckon this would be a really good time to pry a few more bucks out of you right now. What do you reckon? Oh, I need to go and have a little bit of a moment.